Hi. So for today's do's and don'ts video, I'm going to be looking at brows. I covered brows a bit in the kind of original do's and don'ts video. I covered them a bit in the hooded eyes video. But with the hooded eyes video, there was a real emphasis on lift. And today what I just want to focus on is how to fill in your brows for a really classic, timeless, defined brow look, not necessarily a trend-led look. So if you're looking for kind of laminated brows or an Instagram ombre brow, this isn't this moment. Thankfully, I think we've seen a bit of a step away from this, but very strong brows were a huge trend for quite a while in recent years. And the things that I don't love about the trend are, I'm not wild about brows being so intense in colour. Colour may be the wrong word, intense in density, because naturally behind our brows we can see a little bit of skin. When they're filled in kind of to the extreme, suddenly the brow is overtaking the eye, the face, and becoming, I would say, too impactful. I don't love a really square front. Again, to me, that's not a natural finish. I'm not wild about really light highlighter. And two things to point out: the head of the brow is coming a little bit too close in. Imagine if the other brow had matched. Oh, I'd look like I was frowning. And then it's also, if you check the corner, it's also coming a little bit long. So let me show you some of my favourite products and how to do a much more natural finish on this side. So brow products come in a number of different forms, from your classic pencils like this new one from Code 8 to tinted gels like this one from Blink Brow Bar London and Anastasia Beverly Hills, which are great for speed, to slightly more unusual finishes like this beautiful brow cushion from Iconic, which I really love. It's much more like a light ink, to pomades, so kind of thicker pastes from Anastasia and Armani, and then lots of different gel type products to hold brows in place, like the Brow Freeze from Anastasia along with her clear brow gel, the brow gloss from Blink Brow Bar London, and the Brow Fix coming soon from Charlotte Tilbury. In my kit, I also carry the Anastasia Pro palette. I don't think they make it anymore, but they do sell all of these powders separately, and most commonly I'll do a clear brow gel to start to set the brows in place. So let me do that now. And I generally favour the Anastasia one, just because I do find it stays where you put it. And this is the first point: we want to make sure that you are brushing and grooming your brows up so you get a good bit of height. But invariably, if you don't, let me show you with a spoolie wand, what we can end up doing, if your brows are kind of brushed down, you can end up creating a much thicker brow than you actually have. So just brush them up and you'll get that little bit of extra lift. Now, while that dries, always give the gel a little bit of time to dry. I'm going to show you how to map out your brows using a powder and just an angled brush. This is by MAC, the 266. I'm going to go into the soft brown colour. Now, you want to have the head of your brow starting, if you place your brush on the outer corner of the nostril and go straight up, that, there we go, is where you want to mark for the head of your brow to start. Then, and with the arch of the brow, you want to take your brush from the corner of your nostril outside of your iris when you're looking straight ahead and up. So that's about there. This is very weird doing this into a phone, by the way. And then to find where it should end, outer corner of the nostril to the outer corner of the eye and end. Thankfully, mine are in about the right spot. So use that as your guide. That's where you want your brow to start. You want to fill in. I like to go fairly straight to the crease, to the arch, sorry, and then down. How's my gel doing? Yes, that is pretty good. I could now fill in that brow with any number of the formulas I've got in front of me, but I'm going to use a pencil because I wonder if people still are more au fait or are more likely to have a brow pencil than they will a pomade or a gel. Saying that, I usually use powder or pomade, but I just wonder if most people have got a brow pencil somewhere. I'm going to use the Brow Wiz from Anastasia. So it's got a spoolie on one end and a really fine tip on the other. So I'm just going to rearrange some of these hairs a little, and I'm going to start with this fine tip, just going through the head of my brow and doing lots of light feathery strokes. Now I start in feathery strokes because I don't want it to be too heavy. I want there to be little hints of skin visible through the pencil. Now when I get to the base here, I don't want a hard line like I've got on this brow, but I do just want to make sure it looks a little bit uniform. So I'm just going to spend a little bit of time doing lots of little strokes again. Sometimes I do very light strokes back and forth, but honestly I'm barely trying to touch the skin because I don't want a firm line. And I think that's because naturally when you look at the base of your brows you can see individual hairs, so I don't want to suddenly create a brow where you've got a perfect line. So then I just follow this all the way through the brow, following the direction of the growth of the hair. And you see where I've gelled my brows there, it has highlighted that the top of my brow there is a little sparse, so I'm just going to fill in the gap. Here my brows do grow down, so again I'm just following the direction of the growth of the hair, and then I'll brush that out with a spoolie wand in just a second. And when you hear makeup artists talk about spoolies, they're talking essentially about mascara wands, or kind of clean mascara wands. And then from the arch I'm just going to draw down to the end of the brow. I really hope you can see. Again, using lots of little strokes. I'm actually just filling out. Always have a concealer brush to hand so you can just soften if you go a little bit wrong. This is a Clé de Peau concealer brush. Okay. And just filling slightly. Then with the same concealer brush, I'm just going to get rid of that marker there. I'm going to get rid of that marker there. Another great tip, if you've gone a little bit heavy on your brow, what I quite like to do is I'll sometimes dust a little bit of translucent powder through the brow, just to soften it slightly. Back to the spoolie wand that came on the brow pencil, and I'm just making sure that all the brows are neat and somewhat uniform. At this point, it might be that I dip into a little bit of powder. So I'm just going to go into medium brown, which is this one here from Anastasia Beverly Hills. And this is a Bobbi Brown brow grooming brush. And I'm just going to fluff that through very lightly. So I don't want any hard edges. I'm just perfecting what's been done. My brows haven't had attention for months. Let me just top up the brow gel. This is the brow gloss from Blink Brow Bar London, and just again ensuring that they're groomed nice and high. And then if you do want to highlight under the brow a little bit, this is my L'Oreal Infallible Concealer. I'm just going to get a tiny bit on a concealer brush, and I'm just going to slip it under the brow a little, not for a particularly heavily carved out brow, but just to highlight slightly. Now I'm aware that on this brow there are a few hairs that I could probably get rid of. Like I say, I can't wait for my threading appointment, just as soon as I can get there. I'm just going to soften it with my ring finger. But do you see how that highlight is altogether softer on that side than this side? And there we go. A very classic, gently filled in brow to add definition and frame to my face and eye, held in place with some gel, versus possibly what some of us were doing a couple of years ago. Hope that was helpful.